Welcome back to Munchausen's Proxy, where we are just shivering with delight and anticipation as the Victoria Alonso saga is looking like it will get absolutely vicious. My video on March 21st stated that it was left ambiguous as to whether she was fired or if she just left. Well, it's official. She has been fired. And what I said about her being the Marvel fall guy for the state of the MCU does not seem to have missed the mark by much, although Alonso took the rope Disney and Marvel gave her and hung herself with it. Let's get into a few articles to expand on this a bit. First up is an article from Variety that seems to have a pipeline of leaks straight from Disney's executive suite. Adam B. Vary and Matt Donnelly write that Disney Marvel is claiming breach of contract for the reason she was let go. According to the article, Alonso's 2018 contract with Disney prohibited working on projects with rival studios without prior approval from Disney. And that prior approval seems to be the key phrase. Alonso decided to work on a movie for Amazon Studios called Argentina, 1985. A historical drama about Argentina's political turmoil in the year 1985 following the fall of their military dictatorship. Alonso, who is Argentinian, is said to have been warned by Disney not to continue to work on or to promote the film after a new employment agreement was given in 2018, and she was explicitly told to stop working on the film. However, she subsequently did press for the movie and appeared on the recent Academy Awards red carpet, not as an employee for Disney or Marvel, but to promote Argentina 1985, that was up for an Oscar that night. Alonso, however, is claiming that she did get prior approval for this. Also cited as reasons she was axed by Disney are the string of terrible Marvel movies with dreadful VFX. Compounding that is the fact that stories have been leaking out of VFX studios about how VFX artists dread working for Disney, particularly for Marvel, because they continually change what it is they ask for from their artists working on the project. They apparently keep coming back for multiple reshoots of scenes that were thought to have been finished months prior, and to cut deadlines very short, thereby ratcheting up the pressure on the artists. Victoria Alonso figures prominently in those stories, as she is said to have engendered a toxic work environment for those working for her, including threatening to blacklist them in Hollywood if they cross her, or catch her ire in any way. The utter failure of Ant-Man and the Wasp's Quantumania at the box office recently probably made such issues even more front and center for Kevin Feige and Bob Iger, especially given the massive budget Ant-Man 3 had. Since her firing, Alonso has retained legal counsel according to an article in the Los Angeles Times on March 24th, which is predictable since she checks every diversity box there is as a gay woman of color. She, her lawyers, and her supporters in the alphabet community have already started pushing the narrative that she was fired because one or all of those boxes she ticks for Marvel. According to Cosmic Book News, Alonso and her representatives are, quote, making it clear to Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and everyone at the House of Mouse that she is not going quietly, unquote. Victoria Alonso's lawyers from Glazer, Weil, Fink, Howard, and Shapiro released a statement that was in the Los Angeles Times, which said the following, quote, the idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy that was nominated for an Oscar and which she got Disney's blessing to work on is absolutely ridiculous. Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel have made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There is a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly, in one form or another. Unquote. The fact that Alonso, a rabid leftist activist and a card-carrying member of the Alphabet Mafia, would throw herself on a cross is not shocking. It is expected. She made repeated missteps vis-a-vis Disney's hierarchy, appearing at the Oscars for a project that is not a Disney or Marvel project, merely being the one that was likely the boiling point. The idea that she stood up to Disney and was silenced is ridiculous, since the woman simply cannot shut up. Her red carpet appearances over the years have been meme and YouTuber gold. She has been one of the driving forces behind the MCU, leading to the failure of Phase 4 in spectacular fashion. The failure to capitalize on blockbuster success of Avengers Endgame, or at least pivot away from that entirely to focus on new projects before rebooting the Avengers, has cost Disney and Marvel not only money, but what they need most: a loyal audience. When you consider the post-production and VFX crises within Disney projects in the last year or two, that only compounds the justification for firing Alonso. Pinocchio's release on Disney Plus was mocked by even mainstream shill media, and the trailers for the upcoming live-action Snow White, Little Mermaid, and Peter Pan and Wendy have been resoundingly ratioed, with The Little Mermaid receiving over 3.5 million downvotes on YouTube. The VFX for all Disney projects in the last few years, with the exception of the latest Avatar movie, have been anywhere from laughable to execrable to weird to the point of being right out of the uncanny valley. Looking at you, She-Hulk. The idea that her politics is what got her fired is beyond imbecilic, and anyone following Disney's troubles over the last 2 or 3 years should be well aware of it. Disney is a woke company. Bob Iger is a leftist who is planning on running for either governor of California or president of the United States based on what he did with Disney. Kevin Feige is also a leftist who bragged that he was going to turn the MCU into the MCU back in 2018 when he said that he was going to make sure there would be more female superheroes than male in the coming years. The idea that they don't support the same things as Alonso is patently, provably wrong. And so is the idea that she was fired for having, quote, the courage to criticize Disney, unquote. Now, were she to suggest that Bob Iger canned her because she is an insubordinate bitch who likes to make her bosses look like beta idiots, she might have a point with that one, since that is exactly what she did to Bob Chapek. I can imagine Bob Iger watching that and plotting his return as Disney CEO, and thinking to himself, she's not going to do that to me. There is definitely more than one thing that went into Victoria Alonso no longer calling Disney Marvel her employer. It is part Game of Thrones-like machinations in the executive suite. It is part Disney Marvel needing a fall guy to take the blame for the state of both Marvel and Disney post-production, VFX, and animation over the last few years, which is what she was in charge of. It is part the toxic environment she created and the strained relationships Disney now has with VFX studios because of her. And it is also part her mouthing off like it is she who runs Marvel, or even Disney, instead of her being a few rungs below CEO. And it is that last one, her hubris, that did her in. If reports about her working on Argentina 1985 not being sanctioned by Kevin Feige or Bob Iger or the lawyers at Marvel or Disney. If the reports about them warning her to stop working on the film for Amazon are true, and the reports about them warning her not to do media for the film are also true, then she was ultimately fired because she felt she was above the legally binding contract she had with Disney Marvel. When that is true, it is sometimes ignored. But when that is true, and all the other things I listed are also true, your time is very limited because it is merely the best, most legally expedient reason to give you the heave-ho from a company. She is the fall guy, make no mistake, However, she was also seemingly a toxic boss who acted above her station, making those to whom she reported think the company could do without her services. That is all I have for this video. If you like what I do here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and comment down below. I appreciate it, and all of you who watched the Top Gun Maverick Oscar video. It cleared 4,000 views the other day, and I thank all of you. The next video will hopefully be the RRR Oscar retrospective, but it is a 3-hour movie in an Indian language, so I might wind up doing the Gotham Knights review first. We will see. Anyway, until then, tschüss.